GCSE English Language Paper 1 is a 5-question paper based on one fiction source. The source will be taken from a novel or a short story usually. You need to read that source and then answer 4 questions based around it. Question 5 on English Language Paper 1 will ask you to write a description or a story. In this video, I'm going to be focusing on question 2 from English Language Paper 1. The skill being assessed in this question is AO2 language analysis. So that means, to put it simply, you need to say something really interesting about the words and phrases that you're picking out to talk about. Question 2 is worth 8 marks. This question is easy to do well on if you do the following things.
I think it's a good idea to summarise the overall atmosphere or the big idea of the extract. I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute, and I'm talking 1 sentence, no more. Highlight 4 to 5 quotations and annotate them with ideas. That's your planning. You don't need a big detailed plan, just knowing the juicy quotes that you're going to pick out is fine. Try to say at least 2 things about each quote. Really zoom in on keywords and phrases. And finally, name the method if you can, but don't lead with it for the sake of it. Don't just point out similes and metaphors, we want to hear about the language. Now I'm going to show you how to approach the extract and how to plan.
2, as I said, they print for you the extract from the source. Rosabelle looked out of the windows. The street was blurred and misty, but light striking on the panes turned their dullness to opal and silver. And the jeweller's shops seen through this were fairy palaces. Her feet were horribly wet, and she knew the bottom of her skirt and petticoat would be coated with black, greasy mud. There was a sickening smell of warm humanity. It seemed oozing out of everybody in the bus, and everybody had the same expression, sitting so still, staring in front of them. Rosabelle stirred suddenly and fastened the 2 top buttons of her coat. She felt almost stifled. Her half-closed eyes, the whole row of people on the opposite seat, seemed to resolve into one meaningless, staring face. And our question is as follows. How does the writer use language here to describe Rosabelle's bus journey home? You could include the writer's choice of words and phrases, language features and techniques, and sentence forms. And this is an 8-mark question, guys. So remember, you want to be spending about 10 minutes on this one and 25% extra. 25% extra on top of that if you have extra time. Now, the first thing you have to do is plan for this question, okay? So don't start by just going straight into it. You want to have things up your sleeve that you can talk about. So I'm going to have a read through, and the first thing that I think I noticed about this, guys, is the contrast. So there's contrast in this extract between the inside of the bus and the outside. So I'm going to use one colour highlighter to highlight the outside of the bus, and I'm going to use the colour highlighter for the inside. So outside, the street is blurred and misty. There's light striking on the panes. And there's opal and silver. There's a jeweller's shop. And these are described as fairy palaces. So all these words together, it's really good, guys, to look for patterns in the language. So blurred and misty, I'm going to say this gives it a kind of mystique or a magical feel. Opal and silver. Opal is a gem. So here a richness. There's connotations of richness. Perhaps. Of wealth. And again, opal and silver. Opal is a kind of creamy gem. We know the colour of silver, so again, things seem that they've got maybe like a magical sheen or coating to them. It's almost like the outside world has this kind of magical glow to it. The jeweller's shop, of course, we know suggests wealth. And fairy palaces. So going beyond wealth and richness, fairy palaces, again, this is the idea of fantasy. Like another world. I'm going to contrast that with the thickening smell of warm humanity. So this is the real life. This is inside the bus. And it's that smell of humans, that smell of people. It's oozing out of everybody. What a great verb, oozing. It's coated with black, greasy mud. So yeah, we've got the kind of internal reality of the bus here in a pattern relating to disgust. and claustrophobia. So you're going to have time, guys, in the exam to do a really quick plan, a really quick bit of highlighting and a bit of labelling on the bits you want to talk about. Please don't be methods-led. So don't think, oh, I can spot a simile there, I must talk about it. It's better to say something interesting about the language rather than saying, this is a simile, this is a metaphor. If I could give you one piece of advice, say something interesting about the language. That is my advice. And the other second bit of advice is about this. With all of your quotes, what more can I say about this? You're going to have time, guys, in this for about 2 paragraphs, probably. I mean, students always say, how much do I have to write? It doesn't really matter. You're not going to lose marks for not doing 2 paragraphs. You're not going to, 3, 1 big paragraph. Ideally, you want to paragraph your writing, but this is an 8-mark question. You're going to be spending 10 minutes. You want to say something interesting about the language. Okay, so how do we begin this question? Well, you want to begin with the very short thesis statement summarising the overview of this, and I'm going to show you how to do that now.
The writer contrasts the stale, suffocating interior of the bus with the alluring, almost fantastical world outside, emphasising how luxury and beauty remain tantalising out of Rosabel's reach. I just want to show the examiner that I've understood the main gist of the passage and I've understood the methods the writer's using, and here the big thing sticking out to me is contrast. Now let's have a look at how I put my planning ideas into a paragraph. The street outside the bus is described as blurred and misty, suggesting allure and mystique. The luxury connotations of opal and silver lights and the jeweller's shop appearing like fairy palaces introduce a contrast between the harsh reality of Rosabel's difficult life and an attractive world of luxury and fantasy. This contrast hints that Rosabel longs for beauty or escape from her ordinary life of drudgery. So instead of just saying there's a contrast and the outside is nice and the inside isn't very pleasant, we've said lots of different things here. I go on to say this. The black, greasy mud coating Rosabel's clothes uses tactile imagery and negative adjectives to emphasise the filth of urban life, while the sickening smell of warm humanity makes the crowded bus feel physically unbearable. Claustrophobia intensifies as Rosabel feels stifled and the passengers merge into one meaningless staring face. This dehumanising imagery and metaphor suggests she is trapped in an oppressive, suffocating environment where individuality disappears. So you can see here I've embedded lots and lots of quotations and tried to say something interesting about each one. I might zoom in on a word as well. So here I've said the verb oozing suggests a grotesque and undignified version of humanity, as if the passengers on board the bus are sluggish, faceless creatures who Rosabel finds repulsive. So when I say, what more can I say about this, perhaps you could pick a word to zoom in on and talk about it in a bit more detail if you've got time. Really, you have to write for as much time as you have, rather than worrying about how many paragraphs you should do. Just start and get down as much as you can and go into as much detail as possible. So that's it. That's how you do really well in paper 1 question 2. Please comment below if you've got any other questions for me and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you.